Welcome to the Emotional Leads Podcast. I'm Kim, your host. And if you are coming back, thank you so much for joining me again. If you're new, I'm happy to meet you. If you're listening to this or you're watching the video in real time, we are very close to moving into the new year. And I wanted to offer some tips for those of you who may be overweight, may struggle with binge eating, overeating, emotional eating. And as we go into a new year, or even a new month or a new week, we're often plagued with these old feelings of having to think about what diet we're going to be on, what foods we're going to leave out, what exercises and workout programs we're going to start. And I want to change your mind about this concept of rebirth every time you feel like you have to start over. So even though this is for the new year, we are not going to have resolutions. We're going to reignite. And this episode is for you if you feel like you eat, especially when your emotions are running high, you're feeling triggered, you're not setting really good boundaries, you feel tired. These are the things that we want to look at, and how can we find the root cause? Because if you work on these things that are not resolutions, or more like revelations, to help you find the root cause is the magic. It is the magic that's going to help you let go of some of these things and bring joy and help you not use food to cope. So these tips are not resolutions. We're not going to focus on hardcore dieting and which workout program you're going to be on. We're going to work on doing the inner work. So think of these as revelations for next year. And the purpose is really, I want to help you connect to unmet needs that you have, because you can restrict your food if you want to. It doesn't work well for binge eaters. You can work out an hour a day. That's not necessarily unhealthy. It's the mindset behind it and the needs that you have that are causing you to do it. We want to work on your relationship with yourself. And if there's any avoidance that you're having, these are the things that are going to help you reignite for the new year so that you can stop eating emotionally and meet the goals that you want to meet. Weight loss is not the goal. Weight loss is the byproduct. Because if you've tried diets, if you're like me, I'm in my 50s, I have dieted on and off for over 30 years. 30 years is a long time to keep trying diets and then thinking, oh, the next one will work, or I will go back to one that worked. If those diets work to change your behavior and to rewire your brain, you would still be doing well. You would not be having to relook at it. So let's get right into it. So, part one, I really want you to understand the connection again between emotional eating and your relationship with yourself and not having your needs met. So, emotional eating is when you're overeating, when you're eating because you're not hungry, but you're just grabbing food and you're not tasting it and it's mindless. I'm not talking about when you're really enjoying your food. I'm talking about when you're just in the pantry and you're going back and forth between salty and sweet and you're just never satisfied. That's a symptom of a deeper emotional or mental discomfort. And we're escaping from that discomfort. And you don't want to blame food or yourself for this. We're going to be asking some questions. What is this food giving me? What is this food giving me? So when you are looking at rebirth, reigniting yourself, we have to dig a little deeper and do the inner work, because the dieting, the external things are not working. And I've even tried to out exercise my emotional eating issues, and it doesn't change it. It's just more exercise, but I'm still eating. And it doesn't mean that we don't enjoy our food and we don't let go of food rules. It means that we now know that we do have some control around food. What feelings am I avoiding or seeking from food? So some of the things that we really want to get away from are comfort. We want that comfort and soothing because we want to get away from loneliness, boredom. We're trying to self-soothe. We might even be distracting ourselves or rewarding ourselves. One of the reasons why I used to emotionally eat is not just from these other unmet deeper needs, but procrastination. Every time I got on the computer, I would leave and go get a bowl of nuts or something to be almost rewarding myself for sitting down for this hard project. But it was so distracting, even eating while I was trying to work, because I was making food the priority. So there's so many different reasons. Let's talk about my first tip for you to reignite yourself next year. Perfectionism runs so deep, and I am going to be presenting you an episode in the new year with Laura Heflin, who's another coach, and we're talking specifically about perfectionism and consistency. And that is why that is one of the number one things that I'm hoping for people to let go of. So if you are someone who feels like you always have to have the right answer, you have to do it perfectly. You're afraid at work that you're going to underperform. You're afraid that even on a diet, if you go off of it, you might as well just not even try again to eat healthy because you're just not being perfect. And perfectionism is so connected to emotional eating. When you have to get it all right, think about what's going on. Where in your life do you first remember having to get it all right? Whose expectations did you have to meet? Let's think about in the new year. Let's reignite your brain. Let's rewire your brain that you don't have to be perfect. No one is standing over you telling you have to have all the right answers. No one expects you to be perfect but yourself, because probably somebody did when you were younger. That is not your story now. So let's rewrite it for the new year. So again, instead of resolutions, we're rewriting the story for this new phase in your life. And again, I want to repeat that we don't have to start this over in the new year. You could be listening to this on March 14th, July 1st, April 22nd, August 22nd. It doesn't matter. You can restart to rewire your brain anytime that you start to listen to these. When we have this fear of failure, there's a fear of failure, and then there's also a fear of embarrassment if we don't do things right. When we can get over that, or we can get over even fear of embarrassment of starting new things, our life can have so much more joy because we're not so serious. We're not taking it so seriously. And then we aren't using food to cope with those feelings of not feeling good enough. So, the action that I would love for you to take on this, we have letting go of perfection, letting go of being perfect, letting go of having all the right answers. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take imperfect action. So, as a coach, we are often told as entrepreneurs, do the imperfect action. Just do what you can do and not worry about it being perfect, or you're never going to be able to get out to your clients and share something new with them. Just do it. Just jump on it and go. I wanted to relearn Spanish this year. And I was really afraid to sit down and do it in front of my family because sometimes I had to get the lessons done and I didn't want to speak in front of them. I had to do it imperfectly. Every time I want to start something new or learn something new, I do have that embarrassment. Something from my childhood has made me feel embarrassed to try something new in front of other people. But it brings joy when you try something new and novel. And when you can get over worrying about people thinking you're not good at it, it's so freeing. When you feel like you can be imperfect with the right people in your life, it's so freeing, and you're not using food to cope when things don't go well. Celebrate the small wins. I think that's one of the most important things. Okay, number 2 is set boundaries for yourself. This next year, or whenever you start looking at rewiring your brain, we want to set boundaries that are loving boundaries. They have to be hard boundaries, but they can still be loving because we're letting other people know where they stand, and other people need it as much as you do. I have an entire episode on boundaries. When we have no boundaries, this is where it's connected to emotional eating. We often will give up things that we really need in order to accommodate somebody else. And those boundaries don't come from love or kindness. Those, when we don't put those boundaries up, it's not because we want to help someone all the time. People pleasing is not always kind. It's out of obligation. It's out of habit. It's out of us thinking from our childhood that we have to do what someone asks us to do, or they make us feel like we're not a nice person. Well, guess what? You're a nice person, even if you say no. So, for example, if I break a boundary and I take an extra client at 6 or 7 at night when my energy is really low, I'm not going to be my best for them. They're not going to get everything from me that they need. I'm going to be hungry and tired. And then I'll be resentful later because I'm breaking into my free time. I'd love to see clients. I would see them all day long from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. if I could, but I know what my limits are. When you break boundaries and do things that you don't really want to do, sometimes we have to. We've got to take care of people, got to take care of kids, we've got to take care of parents. That is understandable. You have to show up and do your job. But when you break boundaries of your own to accommodate other people and you feel resentful, it's very likely that you are going to dig into the food. So here's your action step. Decide what behaviors you will and won't put up with, because boundaries also come with comments. If you listened to the last episode or saw the last episode on YouTube, it talks about triggers. What are you going to put up with from people? You can let it go, and that's great too. If you learn to have peace within yourself and feel strong enough with yourself, you can let things go. But maybe there's some things you won't put up with and you're going to make a comment. Please do not comment on what I eat or my body is a boundary. So go back and listen to that episode because it really does talk about those triggers and having boundaries around people making comments at events or family occasions. It's very helpful. So even if you didn't have it for the holidays with your family, you can use it in the future. It's great with friends also. Let's talk about number 3. I'd love for you to really look at your values and create a statement for yourself. When we really look deep in our values, not just, I want to be a great mom, I want to be a great wife, I want to be a great coworker, I want to be a great coach. Those are all pretty given, but getting a little bit deeper is to kindness, joy, how you want to treat yourself so that you can treat others well, where you want to be in your health journey. What are your values? Where are you spiritually? What aligns in your life? And if you're finding things aren't aligning, this is a great time to have this rebirth in the new year or this new time whenever you pick up this episode. You have a chance to realign anytime you want. But if you're doing things out of alignment, that will cause us to overeat. That will cause us to binge eat because we feel the alignment is off. You feel it in your heart, in your soul, in your head. You know something's not right and you're not doing things aligned with your values. And when you create this mission statement, it helps you shift to who you want to be and not who you think you are based on your habits and what you do. Who you are as a person is what we want to get to, not what you do. I am a teacher. I am a coach. My kids used to laugh at me and say, I am a marathon runner. All these different things that I was, that's not who I am at my core. And taking care of my body, eating well for my body and enjoying my food, enjoying my relationships, enjoying the people around me, but also enjoying my own time, my time with God. There are a lot of values that you can write down and journal on and find out how that aligns. Because if you're not aligned with what you really believe in, that's when the boundaries get crossed. That's when we overeat. And we're dealing with going straight into what we think is easier. Oh, I'm just going to diet. I'm just going to exercise more because that's just a cut and dry thing that you get to turn to and you don't have to do any thinking or inner work on. So let's move on to number 4, incorporate movement that feels good. So right now in our age group, 40s, 50s, 60s, we're really looking at, yes, lifting weights is very powerful. Lifting weights is where I'd love for everyone to be for longevity. It's an endocrine organ and blood sugar control, hormone balance, but also just the strength and the mobility, and really for all of us to keep moving. The more I lift, I do feel the less I have a tendency to emotionally eat, because I am working towards keeping that muscle. However, if that's not where you are just yet, but you're not moving at all, you're not getting the mental health benefits also. You're not getting the blood sugar benefits. And we know that spiking blood sugar, low blood sugar, high blood sugar, also both can actually ignite emotional eating. And we don't want to do that. So overeating can feel like, when you're feeling disconnected and not aligned with your movement, it feels like a punishment. So lifting, I spend a lot of time with clients when they think they want to do it, really talking through it and learning how to enjoy it so that you're feeling strong, not doing it just for pure weight loss. Remember, all of these are not resolutions to lose weight loss. These are revelations and a way to reignite, to help you feel better and healthier. Weight loss could be possibly a byproduct, but our inner being has to be healed first. And we get disconnected from our bodies. So do playful things. My sister and I are learning to do shuffle dancing this year, and it's hilarious. We're going to get on a Zoom together, but we laugh and send messages to each other about how uncoordinated we feel. But we laugh all the way through it, and it's a great cardio. Lifting is my choice, and I actually do enjoy that. But my laughter and joy and lightheartedness comes from the shuffle dancing. um, just walking and stretching. Get started on something that makes you feel good and aligns until we can add more. Number 5 is reconnecting with joyful habits. I've brought this up in podcasts before, but next year, let's talk about, instead of cutting out carbs, let's talk about adding in hobbies. When you let go of things that you used to do, or there's something you've always wanted to try, but you haven't done it, you're cutting out a piece of your joy. I have a client who just started painting again, and I can tell when she talks about it, she is just joyful about it. I have another client who is a scrapbooker. I have someone who just started doing pickleball and laughs her way through it, just like I do with the shuffle dancing. I started learning Spanish this year, and it has become such a joy that I do it every day. My daughter turned me on to the New York Times Games, that little app that has Wordle and the crossword puzzle and all these little games in there that I do every day just for fun to come down from the day. All of this is great for our brain, by the way. We're looking at constantly trying to lose weight, but our brain is very powerful. If your brain's not healthy, it's not going to help you manifest what you want with the rest of your body. We are not separate. The mind and body are not separate. And I think the action that I would love you to take with that is start small. If it's a big project that you want to do and you're not quite ready, then do something small. Buy the things you need for your project. Start small. Maybe it's puzzles, maybe it's music. Maybe if you're taking the dancing lessons, just learning one step, anything, journaling, because when we have hobbies and we have fun things that bring us joy and we can cope, those are coping mechanisms. Remember, the whole point is to feel filled up with joy and to feel full and have our needs met, needs met, so that we are not turning to food. When we turn to food, when we're not really hungry or we're not focused on it and really enjoying it, that's when we overconsume. That's when we don't feel good. That's when the shame and the guilt comes in. So that reignite action is to start small and pick something. I love really outdoorsy things. I love going outside. I asked for a weighted vest for Christmas because that's something new I want to try. But on the total opposite end of it, I've been watching a friend of mine crochet, and I used to do a little bit of knitting, and I'm thinking I might try knitting. But again, this barrier to entry of learning something, by the way, the barrier to entry is your brain. That's it. Your barrier to entry is just you starting. It's not because you don't know how to do it. We have YouTube, YouTube University. YouTube shares everything. So if you're watching this on YouTube, after this video, make it to the end because there's some really good tips here. Get on and search for the thing that you want to learn how to do. It's out there. So let's go to number 6, let go of diet mentality. It is easier said than done. So when I say that, I'm not being flippant. Please know that. I know I've been working on it for a number of years, even before I started coaching, before I went back to integrative nutrition school. So letting go of diet mentality, but instead of going into this year feeling the obligation that everybody feels to have a resolution to lose 10 pounds, 30 pounds, to start working out an hour a day, to go to the gym, to stop eating sugar, stop eating carbs, stop eating gluten, that is so overwhelming. And some of that is actually unnecessary. So letting go of listening to everyone. You're going to be online and you're going to see all the things that people are going to say that you can do. And you have to pick and choose what works for you, but also really discern, is this going to really meet the needs? Is this really going to make you happy? Is this really going to bring you joy? And that leads me to another topic. We often say, I'll be happy when. We don't necessarily say it in those terms. We think it. It's in our soul. I'll be happy when I lose 10 pounds. I'll be happy when I don't have a belly. I'll be happy when I get through menopause. I'll be happy when you fill in the blank, whatever it is, instead of feeling joy now. And that's what I want you to reignite in your brain. We're looking for joy now that you have. It's available to you. Peace and joy are available to you right now. And especially if you're a spiritual person, you know that, but bringing that into every part of your life. Let's get back to diet mentality. You also focus on eating bad food and good food. When you label your food good and bad, then you end up labeling yourself. I was so bad today because you had bread. I was so bad today. I had chips with a sandwich. I was so bad today. I had ice cream. You're not good or bad based on the food you eat. You are good all the time. But what's happening is your brain has been trained by years of diet culture and societal pressure to be perfect. And again, going back to number 1, they come together very well right here. That perfectionism. Because what you see online, when you see somebody's 6-pack abs, what you don't realize is the sacrifice that they have to make to get there, the sacrifice that they have to make to have that percentage of body fat, the things that they have to do that may not fully be healthy to stay at that body fat, that super low body fat for a certain amount of time. And if you're a woman, that's not necessarily hormonally the best place to be. Every person is different. And if that's a goal of yours and you want to do bodybuilding or you want to get there just one time, I'm not holding that against you. But thinking about if you are wanting to get rid of emotional and binge eating, the hardcore goals like that usually end up, if you have those tendencies, to binge and emotional eat because we have not taken care of the underlying needs. So letting go of being perfect, having a 30-day diet, having a 30-day plan, it's okay to have a 30-day plan, but to be flexible with it, because 30 days could turn into 60, could turn into 300, could turn into 600 if you are consistently allowing yourself to be a human being, doing the best that you can. And the action step on that is to really focus on nourishing your body and soul. So nourishing your body first and allowing yourself, having permission to eat on things that you want, but maybe focusing on nourishing your body first. And in other episodes, you'll hear the experts talk about what they feel is the best way to really nourish the body, but also have a flexible life. There's nobody that I have interviewed that has talked about us having to be absolutely perfect to have a body that we feel comfortable in, that we can move in. So I'm looking at number 7, and this is actually something I am working on next year. Instead of reducing my waist size or reducing my belly fat, I really am focusing on reducing screen time. It's really challenging because I am online all the time for the business. And I find myself getting caught up just like everyone else. So I've created some rules. The screen time offers too much comparisonitis, it offers too much information. It can be quite overwhelming. So I have curated my feed to fit the things that I am interested in. So someone made a comment to me in my social media, you only follow a certain number of people, but you have so many more followers. Why aren't you following other people that follow you? This is how I use social media to reach you, to help you, to give you tips, to give you inspiration, and to have, I also try to bring humor in. I love to put memes out and try to bring humor. We are so serious about everything, especially when it comes to weight loss and emotional eating and binge eating. I just love to have a little bit of humor about it. But I only follow people that are going to teach me, make me feel good, lift me up, share information that I really can use in my daily life. So curate your feed, follow the people that make you feel good. Follow the people that are going to give you joy every day or knowledge or inspiration. The other ones, let go. And that's hard to do because that's putting boundaries up. But you know what? People don't know. And I think we think too much about what people think. So reducing that screen time, it keeps you in touch with your emotions. When we're on the screen a little too much, we also get disconnected from ourselves. And then we will eat more because of that. Disconnection from ourselves and who we really, really are and those values, that is when we turn to something that's going to make us feel good, like food, the chocolate. That's my go-to, but you might be the chips. So put that phone away and go take a walk without it. Put that phone away and talk to somebody without it. There are times we have to have it on. I understand if you've got kids or people that are relying on you, or it has to do with your job. But if you can put it away even for 10 to 15 minutes at a time and walk away, I actually will forget about it sometimes, which seems very amazing to me because I don't hardly ever forget about it. I pick it up so many times, but sometimes I'll put it in another room and I'll get involved in something and forget. And that's the best feeling ever. Number 8 is, again, I want to go back to your mission statement, is really going back and reflecting on those values. I mentioned it earlier, but I have them separated and they really go together with the first time that I mentioned looking at your values, what truly matters to you. What truly matters to you, and how do you want to live your life? How do you want your kids to see you living your life? How do you want to really feel every day, all day? And if there's things you want to connect with, like nature, start writing those things down and start working towards them. I would love for you, number 9 is to address emotional roots. We have so many things. This is a little bit harder, and I'm going to say this is really sensitive. Everything I'm sharing with you is never to take the place of your mental health practitioner, your therapist, or your doctor, or any other medical practitioner that you could be going to. This is for information, and this is to give you some inspiration. However, the clients that I work with definitely are dealing with past trauma. They're dealing with stress, unresolved issues. They're not able to let go of certain emotions, and that drives the overeating. That is where the overweight situation comes from, the overeating from not dealing with the emotions and not sitting in those emotions and self-sabotaging themselves. So maybe get a therapist, maybe talk to a coach. When I talk to clients and I ask those questions, I don't act like a therapist. I'm not diagnosing, but I am allowing them to vent some of the things that are going on in their world and asking them how they think things could be handled. And if they need to go to a therapist, that is even better because I own a practice with 2 therapists. I'm with them for a reason. We overlap really well because there's such deep things that we all are dealing with. You're not alone. Don't feel weird or alone because everyone is dealing with something from the past. Letting go of comparison is really important. Not looking at your friend, not looking at someone online, not looking at other people your age. You're on your own journey. The destination, we would love to get rid of this destination really and just be on a day-to-day journey, a journey of joy where we're just improving a little bit every single day and not comparing ourselves to others. What I'd like you to do is for this action step, write down what makes me unique, what makes me worthy, what makes me have value. And that value, I'm not talking about what you can do, but who you are. Maybe the things that you do uniquely to help other people in your world, the things that you do uniquely that nobody else can do, the strengths that you have. And I am going to throw in a couple more. Letting go of perfection in relationships and being in relationships where people can allow each other to say sorry. And because we can get into some situations in couples, relationships, friendships where we feel like we have to say the perfect thing. So maybe that's not the right relationship if you have to be perfect all the time. That's hard. We're not perfect. But letting them be who they are. This came up in the Christmas episode with the triggers, letting people be who they are, and also knowing when to say sorry and being okay with saying sorry and walking away. However, not saying sorry for everything. I have clients who say sorry for everything because they were trained when they were younger that everything that happened in the house was their fault because the person blew up over everything and directed it at them as a child. So they literally say, I'm sorry for everything. And they may accidentally bump you. I'm sorry. They may put a glass down and say, I'm sorry. Maybe I shouldn't have set it on your table. They may say, I'm sorry for being 2 minutes late. Saying I'm sorry is fine and it's great. And it shows appreciation and respect for other people. But when you start to find yourself saying, I'm sorry for everything, or if people bring that up to you, that is directly related to how we treat our bodies with food. There's a soothing, there's a comfort because you're always taking on the blame for everything without even realizing it. And focusing on your own growth instead of other people's opinions. Wow, that's a hard one, right? Focus on your own growth instead of other people's opinions. And what can you let go of? What can you let go of? Number 12 is letting go and just really looking at what you can let go of. What battles are you really going to pick? Because when you let go and you try not to control everything, when you step back and you let go of controlling every situation, you bring peace and you reduce that stress and the need to eat. And I'd love for you, if you're reigniting yourself right now, I want you to write down 3 things you can let go of in this new phase of your life. Because maybe you're not listening to this going into the new year. Maybe you're listening to this as you are just picking it up on any given day and wanting to kind of reevaluate your life a little bit. Bring that joy back. Bring you authentically back. Write down 3 things you can let go to do that. And letting go is hard. We have to close the door on some things to open the door to ourselves. Okay, this is the last one. Number 13 is to focus on small shifts instead of big resolutions. I'm going to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. The problem with these resolutions is it's just not realistic, but it's a huge goal that doesn't have any underlying day-to-day work in it. And we have so many complicated pieces to our lives every single day, whether we're sleeping well, whether our hormones are on point, whether we are hungry, whether we got movement in, whether we got sunshine in, whether we had a run in with someone, whether we had too much caffeine. There's so many factors that could happen to you in a day that when you only focus on that day and do the best you can and just have 1% better in one area, maybe you added some vegetables to every meal. Maybe you walked 500 more steps. Maybe you added in a call to a friend just to say hi. Maybe you took the time for yourself to go do the hobby that we talked about. Maybe you wrote down an affirmation for yourself that has to do with the values you have in your life today. Maybe you got a mini nap in. The things that you add in, the tiny things that help you excel in your own life, there's no performance anxiety over that because it's your life. And if today wasn't absolutely perfect, you still have a win somewhere in there. You got up and you got out the door. You still have a win in there. Find those wins. So the action step is to find your wins for the day and take one small action. That's all you have to do to reignite yourself. So I hope you had some revelations today. I hope you had some aha moments. And as I'm sharing this with you and I was preparing for this, I had a complete aha moment for myself for next year. And I started writing down what I'm looking for in my year. But again, not trying to be perfect because the things that I'm looking for are things that I can work on for the rest of my life. And your habits are not you. Your past behaviors are not you. You are you. And when you start to be more authentically you, you're going to eat emotionally less. You are going to not be craving food to soothe you and comfort you the more you are you and not trying to cover up who you are by being perfect for everyone. And you are capable of the life that you want, one small, joyful step at a time. You are capable of this. I believe in you. And all it takes is one little step. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, please make sure that you leave some comments. What are your takeaways? What are you going to work on? What's going to reignite you? Let me know too. Are you going to let go of the resolutions this year? And if you're on Instagram, make sure you send me a DM or comment on one of my posts and let me know what you think and what are some of the new things that you're going to do. We might inspire other people. If you come up with your own ideas, we can inspire everyone to get creative with how we're going to bring more joy into our lives instead of dieting, and how we're going to be able to get to the root cause of why we're actually eating. And if you're interested in coaching with me, make sure you connect with me either on Instagram at Kim Hines Health, right here on YouTube, and I'll reach back out to you, or kimhines.com. Thank you so much for listening. I'm wishing you the best with you being able to reignite yourself and bring more joy and creativity into your life and lessen that emotional eating. Thanks for listening.